Welcome back to the channel, fellow Port Charles addicts. It is a wild, emotional day, and we desperately need to unpack the absolute madness that just dropped on our screens. Grab your coffee, or maybe something a little stronger, because today's breakdown is going to be incredibly heavy. We are diving deep into the latest tragedy to hit town, and honestly, we are still reeling. Let's get into it. I cannot believe they actually went there. I am sitting here staring at my screen late at night, completely numb, typing furiously because my hands are literally shaking. What did we just watch? I mean, seriously, what was that? They actually killed off Britt Westbourne, and not in some heroic blaze of glory saving the town or a peaceful, tear-jerking hospital goodbye surrounded by her loved ones. No, they had her die in a damp, remote, filthy cellar while on the run. I'm sorry, but my heart is shattered into a million pieces. I am so deeply invested in this show, and this just feels like a physical blow that I was not prepared for, even though we all knew she was sick. Because, let's back up for a second. We knew Britt's Huntington's disease was progressing. We knew the clock was ticking, and there was no magical cure coming to save her. But to have the disease absolutely ravage her and take her out like this, in the middle of nowhere, with only a terrified kid by her side, it is visceral, it is dark, and it is honestly one of the most messed up things this show has done in years. Reacting first and thinking later, I am just furious at the writers, but I am also completely wrecked by the performances. The sheer cruelty of having Dr. Britt Westbourne, a brilliant medical mind, succumb to a neurological disease on a dirty floor without any medical comfort or dignity is just staggering. I've been watching this show religiously since 2015, and I have seen the writers do some wild things to legacy characters, but this feels like a massive, irreversible gut punch. Remember when they tried to give us that fake-out death with other characters in the past? Remember when we thought Jason was gone forever? Or when they played games with Faison's demise? Yeah, it didn't work then either, because we always knew there was a loophole. But this is real. This is final. Dr. Britt Westbourne, the former Britch, the woman who evolved from a scheming, manipulative villain to one of the most complex, tragic, beautiful souls in Port Charles, reduced to gasping her last breaths in isolation. A part of me hates the writers for stripping her of her dignity, but another part of me, the soap purist part, has to admit that it is a hauntingly beautiful tragedy. And can we please talk about Rocco? Am I the only one who is sick over what they are putting this child through? He just watched his only protector die in agony. He is already carrying the massive, crushing trauma of pulling the trigger and shooting a grown man. He shot Ross Cullum, and that alone is enough to destroy a kid's psyche. But now, he has to watch Britt, the woman who took him on the run to protect him, succumb to the brutal, ravaging effects of Huntington's disease right in front of his eyes. The scene where he is just sitting there, helpless, watching her slip away, unable to do anything to stop it. It is pure nightmare fuel. He is just a kid, but then, somehow, the writers decided to make it even worse. Because Rocco doesn't call 911. He doesn't run out into the street screaming for help, because he is completely paralyzed by the fear that if the cops come, they will arrest him for shooting Cullum. He is a child, and his brain is short-circuiting with terror. So what does he do? He hides her body. I need everyone to pause and really think about the gravity of that. A child hiding the dead body of his protector in a remote cellar. I mean, the psychological damage here is completely off the charts. It's so dark that I had to pause the episode and just walk around my living room, because the visual of young Rocco trying to conceal Britt's lifeless form is just too much to handle. So now we have this horrifying reality where Rocco is entirely alone. He is officially a survivor, but at what cost? He has made the conscious, trauma-induced decision to hide a body and survive on his own. This isn't just a sad storyline. This is the birth of a brand new, terrifying era for Rocco Falconeri. The writers are fundamentally rewriting this character's DNA right before our eyes. He is never going to be the same sweet, innocent kid again. The show is telling us right now, Rocco is going to be dark, withdrawn, and completely distrustful of the world. He lost his faith in adults the second Britt's heart stopped beating and nobody came to save them. And let's look at the Dante and Lulu angle, because that is a whole other layer of absolute devastation. Dante is a cop, right? He is trained for this. He tracks down fugitives for a living. But this is his son. And Lulu, my God, Lulu has been through the absolute ringer since she woke up from her coma. The frantic, tearful search for Rocco is tearing them both apart. Every single scene with Dante and Lulu right now is just drenched in this suffocating desperation. They think they are looking for a runaway kid and a sick doctor, hoping to bring them home safe. They have absolutely no idea that they are looking for a boy who has essentially become a grave robber of his own innocence. Dante has to be carrying so much guilt, and it is radiating off the screen. He was supposed to protect his family. He is the law, but the law couldn't save his son from Cullum, and it couldn't save Britt from her own genetics. Dante's scenes at the PCPD, desperately interrogating people, grasping at straws for leads, you can see the absolute terror in his eyes. He knows Cullum is a lethal threat, but he doesn't realize that the real monster right now is the trauma that is eating his son alive from the inside out. Dante is out there looking for a boy who doesn't exist anymore. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. I have to talk about Liesl Obrecht. Mama Obrecht does not even know yet. She is currently locked in a cell under Windermere with Jocelyn, being forced to work on Faison's cold fusion project by those absolute psychopaths. She just found out that Nathan is dead and that Cassius is his twin. She is already broken. When she finds out that Britt died alone in a cellar, poor Charles is going to burn to the ground. Kathleen Gotti is going to deliver the performance of the decade, and I am not ready for it. I am already crying just thinking about Obrecht finding out her beautiful Liebling is gone forever, and in such a cruel, isolated way. Remember when they tried to do the traumatized kid storyline with Spencer Cassadine years ago? Spencer got burned, he went away, he came back angry, and vengeful. Yeah, didn't work then either, because it felt too rushed and kind of cartoonish. But this is a slow, agonizing, hyper-realistic descent into darkness for Rocco. This trauma is earned. It is rooted in blood, disease, and total isolation. He shot a man, watched a woman die of a degenerative brain disease, and then buried her to hide the evidence. That is Shakespearean-level tragedy right there, and it elevates General Hospital to a whole new tier of drama. Let's talk about the survival aspect for a minute. Rocco is out there fending for himself in some remote location. He doesn't know who to trust. He probably thinks Dante will have to arrest him because Dante is a by-the-book cop most of the time anyway. He definitely doesn't trust Sonny's world because that mob life is exactly what brought Cullum into their lives in the first place. So he is just alone. A lone wolf kid carrying a body's worth of secrets. It is giving me major early Jason vibes, to be honest. The trauma changing the brain, the isolation, the complete turn towards darkness. Are they setting Rocco up to be the next enforcer? Am I crazy for thinking that? I know some people are loving this. I've been scrolling through the forums and group chats and people are saying, finally, some real stakes, and this is the gritty soap drama we've been begging for. And I get it, I really do. It is incredibly compelling television. It keeps you glued to the screen. But personally, it just hurts. I loved Britt. I loved her redemption arc. Her snarky friendship with Brad. Her complicated tragic romance with Jason. To see her end reduced to a plot device designed solely to traumatize a teenager, it feels a little cheap, even if it is beautifully acted. But maybe that's just the grief talking, because I am genuinely mourning a fictional character right now. Because let's face it, the writers have been painting Britt into a corner for months with his Huntington's diagnosis. We all knew there was no miracle cure. We knew it was a death sentence, but I always thought she would go out on her own terms. Maybe a dramatic, heroic sacrifice on Cassadine Island, or surrounded by Liesl and Maxie in a beautiful, tear-soaked farewell. This remote cellar death is just so incredibly bleak. It is the bleakest thing General Hospital has done since they killed off baby Liam. It just strips away all the soap opera glamour, the dramatic lighting, the sweeping music, and leaves us with raw, ugly, terrifying reality. So what happens next? I am absolutely dreading the moment Dante and Lulu finally find him. Because they aren't going to find their son. They are going to find a hollow shell of a boy. I predict Rocco is going to lash out violently. He might even pull a weapon on his own parents when they corner him, because his fight-or-flight response is completely broken. And the fallout? The legal ramifications of hiding a body? The intense psychological therapy he is going to need? Kevin Collins better clear his schedule for the next 10 years, because Rocco is going to need intensive help, and even then, I don't think he will ever fully heal. And what about the justice for Britt? Will anyone ever know how she truly suffered in her final hours? Will Rocco ever be able to articulate the horror of watching the Coria take over her body, the way she couldn't breathe, the way she couldn't comfort him at the end? I am terrified that Rocco will just lock it all inside, building an impenetrable wall around his heart. He is going to become a silent, brooding teenager who trusts absolutely no one. The writers have effectively destroyed his childhood, and while it makes for phenomenal TV, it is devastating to watch as a longtime fan who remembers him as a baby. Sometimes I contradict myself because I am just so emotional figuring out my thoughts as I type this. Like, I hate the writers for doing this, but I also have to applaud them for having the guts to go this dark. It is a massive risk. You don't just kill off a fan favorite in a dirty basement and turn a legacy child into a traumatized shell without expecting massive backlash. The fan base is going to be divided on this for years. We are going to be debating whether Britt deserved better, or if this was the ultimate tragic masterpiece of daytime television. I am just so overwhelmed by this entire storyline. I need to know what you guys think. Am I overreacting? Is this the masterpiece of tragedy some fans are claiming it is? Or did Britt Westbourne deserve a much better send-off? I'm gonna be up all night thinking about Rocco shivering in that cellar next to Britt's hidden body, terrified of the police, terrified of Cullum, terrified of his own shadow. It's just too much. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I desperately need to vent with people who understand this pain and who love these characters as much as I do. We are going to need a massive support group to get through the next few weeks of episodes.